Tonight the wind rolls in from a frozen northern sea, carrying the scent of salt, snow, and pine. A single longhouse stands against the darkness, its roof heavy with frost, its walls creaking softly as if breathing. Inside, men, women, and children prepare to sleep while winter presses hard against the timber walls. How did they survive these nights? How did they rest at all without freezing to death? That quiet question is the doorway into our story. Before we settle deeper into the firelight, take a moment to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let me know where you're watching from, whether it's evening in the United States, the early hours of morning in Europe, a quiet night in Canada, or somewhere else in the world, and what time it is for you right now. These stories travel far, and it's comforting to know we're all listening together across different hours of darkness. Now, adjust your pillow, let your shoulders soften, and allow your breathing to slow. Imagine the crackle of a hearth, the steady rhythm of distant waves, and the sense of being sheltered from the cold. When you're ready, we'll return to the story and step gently inside the Viking longhouse. The longhouse rises low and broad from the frozen ground, shaped like an overturned ship resting on land. Its thick wooden walls are darkened by age, smoke, and countless winters, each plank fitted carefully to keep out the worst of the cold. Snowdrifts pile up against the outer sides, not as a threat, but as an extra blanket laid there by nature itself. Inside, the air is warm but heavy, filled with the scent of wood smoke, wool, and dried fish hanging from the rafters. A long hearth stretches down the center of the floor, its embers glowing like a line of resting stars. The fire is never allowed to die completely in winter. Even as people sleep, someone will wake to feed it, knowing that warmth is as vital as breath. Along the walls, raised wooden platforms serve as beds. They are layered carefully, first with straw or dried grasses, then with thick furs from sheep, deer, or bear. These layers trap warmth, turning simple materials into shields against the cold that creeps in from the earth below. Families sleep close together, sharing heat without a word, wrapped in woolen cloaks that smell faintly of lanolin and smoke. The roof overhead is low, designed to hold warmth inside. Smoke curls upward and escapes through a small opening, never fully sealing the space, but allowing just enough air to keep everyone breathing easily. Outside, the wind howls across the fjord, but inside the longhouse it becomes a distant sound, softened by timber and turf. As the fire settles into a steady glow, eyelids grow heavy. The cold remains outside, patient but held at bay. For now, the longhouse endures, and so do the people within it, drifting slowly toward sleep in the heart of winter. The strength of the longhouse lies not just in its fire, but in its walls. Thick posts of oak or pine are driven deep into the earth, their bases packed tightly with stones, clay, and turf. This layered construction creates a barrier that slows the cold, forcing winter to linger outside while warmth gathers patiently within. Between the wooden beams, Vikings press sods of earth and grass, still bound by their roots. Even in death, the soil remembers how to insulate, how to protect what lies beneath it. In winter, these walls feel solid and reassuring, their surfaces cool to the touch, but never icy, as if they quietly agree to shield those who live here. Inside, woven tapestries and hanging shields add more than decoration. They break drafts, catch stray currents of air, and help the longhouse feel enclosed and safe. Every object has purpose, every placement shaped by generations who learned through long winters what truly mattered. As night deepens, the firelight flickers against these walls, making shadows move slowly, like thoughts drifting just before sleep. The wind may rattle outside, but it cannot find a clear path. The cold presses, waits, and eventually grows still. People shift beneath their furs, listening to the familiar sounds, the crackle of embers, the gentle breathing of neighbors, the distant cry of something wild beyond the snow. Wrapped in warmth made by hands and memory, they rest, trusting the walls to hold until morning. At the heart of the longhouse, the fire never truly sleeps. Even when flames sink low and embers glow red and gold, the hearth remains alive, quietly working against the cold. It is long and narrow, stretching like a glowing spine through the center of the room, offering warmth to everyone gathered along its sides. The heat rises slowly, filling the space near the roof before drifting back down in gentle waves. This steady circulation keeps the cold from settling too deeply, creating a pocket of warmth that lingers through the night. The Vikings understand this rhythm well. They arrange their sleeping places carefully, knowing exactly how far from the hearth feels safest and warmest. A watchful sleeper, often an elder or someone already awake from the habits of age, adds a log when the embers begin to fade. The sound is soft, almost comforting, a quiet thud, a brief hiss, a bloom of sparks. No one startles. These sounds belong to the night. Smoke curls upward, tracing lazy paths toward the opening in the roof. It carries with it the scent of resin and ash, clinging lightly to hair and clothing. Over time, this smoke darkens the beams above, sealing them against rot and helping the longhouse last through decades of winters. As the fire breathes and settles, warmth spreads evenly, reaching into corners and beneath blankets. Outside, ice creeps across the land, but inside the hearth stands firm, a glowing promise that morning will come. Along the walls of the longhouse, the sleeping platforms wait patiently, built from sturdy planks raised just above the earthen floor. This small distance matters. Cold sinks downward, settling near the ground, and even a hand's breadth of height can mean the difference between restless shivering and deep, steady sleep. Each bed is layered with care. At the bottom lies straw or dried grasses, gathered in warmer seasons and stored for winter's need. These plants, once warmed by summer sun, now hold pockets of air that trap heat close to the body. On top come thick fursed sheep, reindeer, or bear softened by use, and rich with the natural oils that resist damp and cold. Woolen blankets are folded and tucked around shoulders and feet. Wool stays warm even when moisture finds its way in, and Vikings trust it deeply, the way one trusts an old friend. The weight of these coverings is comforting, pressing gently, reminding the sleeper they are held and protected. Families sleep close together, not out of crowding, but wisdom. Shared warmth gathers and grows, turning many bodies into a single source of heat. A child's cold feet find warmth against a parent's legs. An elder rests with their back to the wall, shielded from drafts by younger, stronger bodies. As breathing slows and the fire crackles softly, the longhouse settles into stillness. The beds remember every winter that came before, every night endured and survived. Wrapped in fur and memory, sleep arrives quietly, like snow falling without sound. Even as they sleep, Vikings remain dressed against the cold. Linen undertunics and thick woolen layers stay close to the skin, trapping warmth the way the walls trap firelight. These clothes are not stiff or heavy, but worn soft by years of use, shaped to the body like familiar ground. Woolen socks or foot wraps protect toes from the creeping chill, and simple caps cover heads where heat might otherwise escape. Fur-lined cloaks are drawn close, pulled up around shoulders and tucked beneath chins. In winter, clothing is not something removed at day's end, it is part of the bed itself. The fabrics smell faintly of smoke and lanolin, a comforting scent that signals safety and home. Each garment has been mended many times, stitched by firelight during long evenings. Those small repairs matter now, sealing out cold air and holding warmth close. As people shift in their sleep, layers move softly, wool brushing against fur. The sound is quiet, rhythmic, almost like the hush of wind passing through tall grass. Outside, frost tightens its grip, but inside, bodies stay warm within their woven shelters. Clothed, covered, and close together, the sleepers drift deeper into rest. Winter can wait outside. Here, warmth endures. Above the sleeping families, the roof of the longhouse stretches low and strong, shaped to endure snow, wind, and time. Heavy beams arch overhead like ribs, supporting layers of wooden planks, birch bark, and thick turf laid carefully on top. In winter, this living roof becomes one of the longhouse's greatest protectors. The turf holds warmth, the way earth always has. Frozen on the surface, it still insulates deeply below, slowing the escape of heat from the fire and bodies beneath it. Snow settles on top, adding yet another layer, soft and silent, pressing gently down rather than threatening collapse. The Vikings welcome this weight. Snow is not an enemy here, but an ally. Inside, the roof keeps the space intimate. Heat does not rise far before it is caught and turned back downward. Smoke stains the beams dark, sealing them against moisture and rot. Every winter night leaves its mark, strengthening the roof rather than weakening it. Occasionally, a soft thump echoes as snow slides and resettles above. No one stirs. These sounds are familiar, part of the longhouse's quiet conversation with the night. The roof holds, just as it always has. Beneath it, the sleepers remain wrapped in warmth, trusting the earth above their heads to guard them until dawn. Vikings do not fight winter. They learn to move with it. Their sleeping hours stretch longer in the cold months, matching the shortened days and long nights. Darkness is not something to resist, but something to accept gently, allowing the body to rest when the world grows quiet. As evening deepens, activity fades early. Tools are set aside, animals settled, and the fire tended carefully before sleep. This preparation matters. Going to bed warm makes staying warm easier through the night. A full meal of stew or porridge settles in the stomach, spreading slow heat outward, giving the body fuel to burn while resting. Breathing slows as people lie still, conserving energy. Even in sleep, there is an awareness of warmth and cold, a quiet instinct that pulls blankets tighter or shifts a body closer to the hearth. These movements happen without waking, guided by experience passed down over generations. The longhouse itself seems to sleep along with its people. The fire dims but does not die. The walls hold steady. Outside, winter moves across the land, but inside, time stretches, unhurried and calm. By surrendering to the rhythm of the season, Vikings find rest where others might find struggle. Winter becomes not just something to survive, but a time for deep, enduring sleep. At one end of some longhouses, separated by a low wall or wooden partition, animals rest through the winter night. Sheep, goats, or cattle shift quietly in the dimness, their bodies giving off a steady, living warmth. This closeness is practical, not careless, a decision shaped by cold realities and long experience. The heat from the animals drifts slowly through the structure, rising and mingling with the warmth from the hearth. Their breathing adds moisture to the air, keeping it from becoming too dry, easing throats and lungs during long nights of smoke and firelight. The occasional soft hoofstep or low murmur blends into the night's rhythm. For the Vikings, this shared space reinforces a sense of connection. Survival depends on every living thing working together. The animals are not just resources, They are part of the Longhouses' winter life, helping keep the cold at bay simply by being alive. The smell of hay and wool mixes with smoke and wood, creating a scent that signals safety and shelter. Wrapped in furs, the sleepers remain undisturbed by these quiet companions. Life gathers close in winter. Warmth is shared, conserved and protected until morning light returns. Even in the deepest hours of sleep, the Longhouse is never entirely without awareness. Someone always stirs lightly, turning in their furs, listening for changes in sound or warmth. This is not fear, but habit and understanding that winter nights require gentle attention. An elder wakes briefly, drawn by the fire's soft dimming. With slow, careful movements, they add a piece of wood, nudging embers back to life. Sparks rise and fade, and warmth spreads again, unnoticed by most. The act is small, almost tender, yet it protects everyone. Outside, the wind shifts, brushing snow against the walls. Inside, the sound is muffled, a distant whisper rather than a threat. Dogs lift their heads for a moment, then settle again, satisfied that all is well. These quiet moments stitch the night together, ensuring warmth never slips too far away. The Longhouse breathes steadily, fire and people moving in subtle harmony, wrapped in layers of wood, earth, and care. The sleepers remain safe, drifting deeper into rest as the night continues its slow passage. Beneath the Longhouse floor lies the quiet strength of the ground itself. The earth holds heat from seasons past, releasing it slowly through winter nights. Vikings understand this instinctively, choosing sites where the soil drains well and never fully freezes solid beneath the structure. The earthen floor is packed hard, sometimes mixed with ash or clay, creating a surface that resists damp and cold. Near the hearth, the ground stays warm to the touch, radiating gentle heat upward. This warmth seeps into the air and into the beds raised just above it. Bare feet feel this difference immediately. Even in the depth of winter, the floor inside the Longhouse is never as cold as the snow outside. The building itself becomes part of the landscape, borrowing warmth from the land and sharing it with those inside. As sleepers shift, their bodies remain aligned with this natural heat. Everything works together: the earth below, the fire above, the walls around. Winter presses, but the Longhouse answers with quiet resilience. Here, sleep deepens, carried by the slow, steady warmth of the ground itself. Inside the Longhouse, as the fire crackles and the animals stir softly, a rhythm emerges, a quiet, shared pulse. The slow, steady breathing of sleepers rises and falls in waves, filling the space with life, even in stillness. This rhythm is calming, a soft undercurrent to the crackle of embers and the occasional whisper of wind through the walls. Parents and children breathe together, their chests rising in harmony. The warmth from one body drifts to another, the subtle exchange of heat, almost imperceptible but vital. Even the animals contribute to this rhythm, their soft snuffles and occasional shifts blending into the ambient hum of the night. Furs and blankets muffle sound, yet they also trap it, creating a cocooned space where everything feels contained and safe. Each exhale carries warmth, each inhale draws in the soft, smoky air. It is a dance of life and comfort, unconscious but essential, teaching the body to slow, to let go, and to trust. This gentle rhythm lulls everyone further into sleep. Thoughts drift away, muscles relax, and the Longhouse becomes a quiet sanctuary, where cold may knock at the walls but cannot breach the warmth within. The fire at the heart of the Longhouse casts a gentle glow, softening shadows and lending the space a comforting intimacy. Flames danced lazily over walls and beams, painting everything in shades of amber and gold. The light moves slowly, a living presence that soothes as much as it warms. Furs shimmer with each flicker, and the wooden planks beneath the sleepers catch tiny sparks of reflected firelight. Faces half hidden beneath blankets are lit briefly before falling back into shadow. The play of light is unhurried, rhythmic, and hypnotic, guiding eyelids to close more fully with each gentle shift. The flickering also signals safety. In the absence of sunlight, fire becomes both timekeeper and guardian. Its quiet motion reassures the sleepers that someone is awake to care for warmth, to feed the embers, to maintain the delicate balance between night and cold. Even the smallest crackle resonates softly, like a lullaby in the ears of those wrapped in furs. The longhouse breathes in light and heat, and slowly, imperceptibly, the room encourages the mind and body to sink deeper into rest. Beyond the walls of the longhouse, winter hums in its own quiet way. Snowdrifts pile high, and icy gusts sweep across open fields and frozen rivers. Branches creak under frost, and distant forests sigh as wind moves through them. Yet inside, these sounds are softened, muffled by timber, turf, and layers of snow. Occasionally, the hum sharpens a distant howl, the clatter of loose snow sliding from a roof, but it never fully intrudes. It reminds the sleepers of the world outside, harsh and beautiful, while underscoring the safety within. The contrast is soothing, a natural boundary that separates danger from warmth, cold from comfort. Inside the longhouse, the ambient hum blends with the crackling fire, the gentle breathing of sleepers, and the subtle movements of animals. Together, these sounds create a steady, almost meditative backdrop, a slow rhythm that guides the mind toward calmness. Wrapped in furs, surrounded by warmth and life, the Vikings feel connected to the wider world while remaining protected. Sleep comes more easily in this delicate balance, where the sounds of winter outside are companions rather than threats. The longhouse is filled with a rich, layered scent that is both familiar and grounding. Smoke from the central hearth drifts upward, curling along beams and settling lightly on walls and blankets. It carries the resinous temps of pine and the faint bitterness of ash, a reminder of warmth and fire kept alive through long nights. Beneath it, the smell of earth and sod adds depth, a subtle, organic note of damp soil and dried grasses pressed into walls and floors, mixed with the aroma of wool, furs, and the animals resting nearby. It creates a sensory cocoon that signals safety and home. These scents are more than comfort. They are part of survival. Smoke keeps insects away. The earth insulates, and the mingling odors make the longhouse a space where the mind can relax, breathing in familiarity while exhaling tension. Every inhalation carries reassurance. Warmth is here. Food has been prepared, and the long night is shared. As sleepers drift deeper, their senses absorb this layered perfume unconsciously. The smell lingers in dreams, tying them to the longhouse even when thought has softened, guiding them toward rest with gentle insistence. As bodies settle into the raised wooden platforms, the furs laid carefully beneath and around them become a quiet, comforting presence. Thick sheepskin, reindeer hides, and bear pelts mold gently to each sleeper, offering both warmth and a subtle weight that feels like a reassuring embrace. This weight is calming. It presses softly, a tactile reminder that the body is protected. Cold cannot creep easily beneath these layers, and each movement causes the furs to shift, distributing warmth evenly across shoulders, back, and legs. Even the smallest body, an infant or child, feels cradled, supported by the surrounding layers. The furs also absorb sound. Movements are muffled, footsteps soft, and whispers nearly inaudible. This quiet creates a space where the mind can slow, free from startling noises or sudden disturbances. The warmth is not just physical, it is emotional, a comfort passed down through generations who understood the value of such tactile security. Wrapped in this gentle pressure, the Vikings' muscles relax, hearts slow, and sleep deepens. The longhouse seems to exhale, sharing in this soft, enduring warmth, until the night itself feels like a protective blanket around everyone within. Even in the deepest part of the night, the world outside the longhouse begins its quiet preparations for dawn. Beneath the snow, ice shifts imperceptibly. The wind softens for a few breaths before moving again. Though the first light will not reach the longhouse for hours, there is a subtle prelude, a gentle tension in the air, the way shadows stretch long and still. Inside, the fire continues its steady glow, unaffected by the outside world. Yet this faint change is felt unconsciously by sleepers. Bodies begin to stir slightly in response to the subtle drop or rise in temperature, the silent rhythms of nature whispering through the walls and floors. It is a gentle nudge, reminding everyone that the night is not endless. The warmth of the hearth and the furs remain steadfast, holding the longhouse in a bubble of comfort. Even as the world outside begins to hint at movement, the Vikings are cocooned in slow, restorative sleep. There is no rush, no urgency, just the quiet assurance that when the light comes, warmth and survival will still be here. Sleep deepens once more, carried by the unhurried rhythm of fire, body heat, and the steadfast walls of timber and earth. One of the greatest defenses against winter's chill is the presence of others. In the longhouse, families sleep close together, bodies aligned along platforms or nestled side by side beneath furs. Heat passes quietly from one person to another, a slow and steady exchange that requires no words or conscious effort. Children's small hands sometimes brush against a parent's arm in the night, seeking warmth or reassurance. Elders lean lightly against younger shoulders, drawing comfort from the rhythm of steady breathing. Even those who are awake, briefly a parent tending the fire or adjusting furs, participate in this collective cocoon of warmth. The closeness fosters more than physical comfort. It strengthens bonds, creating a sense of security that cannot be measured in degrees of temperature alone. Every sigh, every gentle shift, every shared breath becomes part of the longhouse's nocturnal symphony, a rhythm that lulls even the most restless minds toward rest. As the night stretches on, this comfort deepens. The longhouse becomes not just a shelter from cold, but a home of warmth, trust, and shared presence. Sleep flows more easily here, carried on the invisible currents of human closeness. High above the sleepers, smoke from the central hearth moves with a slow, deliberate grace. It curls along the beams, twisting and stretching, before finding its escape through the small roof opening. The motion is almost hypnotic, softening edges and shadows, turning the longhouse into a quiet world of amber haze and gentle patterns. The smoke mingles with the warm air rising from the fire, carrying heat throughout the space. Even corners far from the hearth receive a whisper of warmth, like a soft breath reaching across the room. This dance is unhurried and constant, an invisible lullaby that seeps into every sleeper's consciousness. Occasionally, a small spark rises and fades, catching the eye with a gentle flicker. There is no suddenness here, no harsh movement, only the slow, calm rhythm of fire and air intertwined. The longhouse responds to this flow, absorbing warmth and light, holding everything in delicate equilibrium. Wrapped in furs and bathed in this soft glow, the Vikings drift deeper into sleep. Their dreams mingle with the movement of smoke and heat, a silent harmony between body, fire, and night. The walls of the longhouse are more than a barrier, they are living witnesses to every winter night. Timber beams stretch overhead, carrying the weight of roof and snow. Between them, sod and turf press tightly, insulating against cold and wind. As the long hours pass, these materials whisper softly, settling under the slow pressure of frost and age. A slight creak here, a gentle shift. Their reach sound is familiar, part of the night's gentle cadence. Sleepers hear these subtle murmurs but are not disturbed. Instead, the noises become part of the cocoon, a reassurance that the structure is alive, breathing along with them. Even the floor contributes its own soft voice. Packed earth hums quietly with temperature changes, responding to warmth from bodies and hearth. Furs muffling movement only deepen the sensation of calm, turning each tiny sound into a rhythmic, almost musical layer of the Longhouses' night. Encased in this network of timber, turf, and earth, the Vikings rest with a sense of profound stability. Every wall and floorboard seems to hum. You are safe. You are held. The night will pass. Even in sleep, the Longhouse is filled with small objects that offer quiet reassurance. Tools rest on pegs near the hearth, their edges darkened by use but familiar to the hand. Clay pots, bowls, and wooden utensils sit nearby, holding the memory of meals and warmth. Simple items woven baskets, shields, and hanging fur serve as anchors in the darkness. These objects are not just functional, they carry a sense of constancy. Their presence tells the sleepers that life continues beyond the night, that even while they rest, the rhythms of home and survival remain intact. Every shadow cast by a hanging tool or low beam is softened by familiarity, transforming potential unease into comfort. The Vikings, even in drowsy moments, sense this stability. The touch of a well-worn blanket edge, the faint scent of smoked fish, the smooth curve of a wooden bowlich detail quietly reminds them that they are safe. The Longhouse is a space shaped not only by structure, fire, and furs, but also by the careful arrangement of life's smallest, most trusted objects. Wrapped in warmth, familiarity, and the slow rhythm of the hearth, sleep deepens, carrying them further into the night's protective embrace. The fire in the hearth continues its quiet vigil, glowing with a steady, pulsing rhythm. Flames rise and fall with a gentle breath, casting amber light over the Longhouse and reflecting in the eyes of those still awake. This pulse is mirrored in the hearts of sleepers, who unconsciously synchronize with its steady beat. Each ember radiates warmth that travels slowly through the space. It reaches the toes of a child tucked under layered furs, the shoulders of an elder leaning lightly against a wall, and even the furred animals resting at the edge of the room. The warmth is constant, unwavering, like a heartbeat that anchors everyone to the present moment. This rhythm does more than keep the cold at bay. It offers reassurance, a quiet measure of continuity. Even when sleep deepens and dreams take hold, the pulse of fire and body remains a tether, reminding all that they are part of a living, breathing world that endures through winter's darkness. Wrapped in layered furs, bathed in the glow of embers, the Vikings drift deeper. The night carries them gently forward, steady and patient, toward the promise of morning light. Even in the coldest nights, the air within the Longhouse carries subtle hints of moisture. Snow tracked in from outside slowly melts into the earth floor, adding a faint dampness that mingles with the warmth from the fire. In corners, small clay or wooden containers hold water, occasionally releasing a soft drip that joins the symphony of quiet night sounds. This gentle presence of water is soothing rather than alarming. It reminds the sleepers that life persists even in winter, that their home is connected to the world outside. The moisture softens the air, preventing it from becoming dry and harsh, making each breath easier and more comforting. Even the faint hiss of water meeting hot stones in the hearth contributes to the gentle rhythm. It echoes softly against the timber walls, blending with the breathing of sleepers, the shuffling of animals, and the crackle of embers. Everything combines into a lullaby of presence and persistence, wrapped in furs, layered with clothing, and cradled by the longhouse itself. The Vikings drift deeper into sleep, soothed by the quiet, life-giving presence of water and warmth around them. As the night stretches on, the longhouse becomes a vessel for dreams. Sleep deepens, and the body surrenders to rest, while the mind drifts through images shaped by warmth, memory, and shadow. Beneath thick layers of fur, small movements signal the subtle stirrings of dreams, a twitch of a finger, a soft sigh, a shift in posture. Dreams here are quiet and slow, like a river flowing beneath ice. A child might imagine sledding down a snowy hill, feeling the cold wind on their face, only to awaken briefly in the comforting embrace of a parent's arm. An elder might recall a past hunt or the taste of summer berries, the memory sweetened by warmth and safety. The longhouse itself seems to recognize this gentle activity. Walls, roof, and hearth create a sanctuary that allows imagination to wander without fear. Even the soft murmur of animals sleeping nearby becomes part of this dreamscape, their steady breathing blending seamlessly with the rhythm of the house. Each sleeper, cradled in furs and warmth, is enveloped in the silent chorus of life and memory. Sleep is not just rest, it is a slow, tender journey, guided by the pulse of hearth, body, and the enduring shelter of the longhouse. Even as sleep deepens, the body continues its quiet work of survival. Heat flows naturally from warmer bodies to cooler ones, a gentle, unconscious exchange that keeps the longhouse balanced. A child nestled against a parent receives warmth like a silent gift, while the adult absorbs the faint heat of an animal resting nearby. This cycle is almost imperceptible, yet essential. Each movement of air, each exhalation, each shift of a limb contributes to the delicate temperature balance within the longhouse. Wool and fur trap these exchanges, amplifying their effect, holding warmth close like a soft, invisible blanket over everyone present. The sleepers themselves participate without thought. Adjustments are made instinctively, arms tucked closer, blankets pulled snug, bodies curled to preserve the heat flowing through them. Even those who wake briefly to tend the fire or check on animals are part of this quiet network, ensuring warmth circulates evenly through the night. Here, survival is woven into the very act of sleep. Every body, every breath, every touch of fur against skin becomes part of a shared effort, a slow and gentle harmony that carries everyone safely through the frozen hours. At the heart of the longhouse, the fire maintains a quiet, steady presence. Its embers glow softly, sending out warmth that radiates through the room in gentle waves. Occasionally, a small flicker rises and falls, a reminder that the hearth is alive, breathing alongside the sleepers. The sound of the fire is subtle, but comforting, a soft crackle, a tiny pop of resin, the occasional sigh as logs settle into heat. It merges seamlessly with the rhythm of breathing and the faint stirrings of animals, creating a lullaby unique to the longhouse. This gentle murmur lulls the mind, smoothing over the edges of consciousness, guiding even the most restless sleeper toward deeper rest. The glow reaches every corner, brushing against walls and furs with soft, amber light. Shadows stretch and bend slowly, never harsh, moving with an unhurried rhythm that mirrors the flow of sleep. Even those who are awake for a moment to feed the fire feel its calming effect, the warmth grounding them as much as the action itself. In this quiet symphony of heat, light, and sound, the longhouse exists as a living sanctuary. Cold may press against the timber from outside, but within, The fire carries its gentle vigilance, allowing every sleeper to drift farther into the safety of night. The firelight casts long, soft shadows across the walls of the longhouse, stretching and shrinking with every flicker of the flames. They dance slowly, as if moving to a rhythm only the house can hear. Each shadow tells a story. The curve of a wooden post, the edge of a fur blanket, the gentle rise and fall of a sleeping body. These shadows are comforting rather than frightening. They create depth and texture in the warm space, giving the eyes something to rest upon as the mind begins to release the concerns of the day. Even the smallest movements are hand shifting beneath a blanket. An animal stretching slightly are captured and softened in the interplay of light and dark. The longhouse itself seems alive in this slow dance. Walls breathe with the warmth of the fire, beams shimmer with a gentle glow, and every surface participates in the calm, rhythmic movement. Sleepers, wrapped in furs and cocooned in warmth, drift further into dreams, carried gently by this quiet ballet of light. Here, the night flows like a soft tide, uninterrupted and serene. The shadows do not startle. They guide the mind and body toward the slow, unbroken rest that winter demands. The air inside the longhouse carries a mixture of smells that are subtle but grounding. The scent of smoke from the hearth drifts lazily upward, mingling with the earthy aroma of packed soil and sod in the walls. Furs and wool contribute their own warm, organic fragrance, slightly sweet, slightly sharp, all familiar and reassuring. These scents do more than indicate presence, they soothe. The smell of animals resting nearby blends with the faint aroma of dried herbs or food left from evening meals, creating a layered olfactory cocoon. Every inhalation is a reminder of home, of safety, of life continuing even in the depths of winter. Sleepers breathe in this quiet perfume unconsciously. Each person, each body, absorbs these smells and incorporates them into the sense of security that the longhouse offers. Even small shifts are hand brushing against fur. A blanket pulled closer releases tiny bursts of warmth and scent, deepening the sense of comfort. Wrapped in furs, surrounded by the rhythmic pulse of hearth and body, and enveloped by the familiar sense of home, the Vikings drift further into rest. Winter may press outside, but inside, every sense is cradled and reassured. Even as most of the longhouse sleeps, life continues in quiet, subtle ways. A soft shuffle of an animal shifting in its bedding, the faint creak of timber as it responds to cold air, or the hushed sigh of a sleeper turning beneath furzole. These sounds blend into a gentle hum that fills the night. This hum is neither loud nor startling. Instead, it soothes. It signals that life persists and that the world, even in winter's grip, moves slowly and steadily. The Vikings, wrapped in layers of wool and fur, absorb this ambient rhythm unconsciously, letting it guide their minds into deeper, more restorative sleep. Occasionally, a parent might murmur a soft word to a child, or an elder might adjust a blanket or add a small log to the hearth. These small acts do not disturb the night. Rather, they reinforce it, maintaining warmth, balance, and the quiet continuity of the household. Within this symphony of subtle movement and sound, sleep flows naturally. The longhouse becomes more than shelter, it becomes a living, breathing companion in the night, holding all who rest within its walls safe, warm, and comforted. Outside the longhouse, snow continues to settle silently, blanketing the landscape in a hushed white. Each flake lands softly, pressing against one another, creating a layer that glows faintly in the reflection of moonlight. The world beyond the walls seems distant, muffled by the thickness of timber, turf, and the weight of accumulated snow. Inside, the longhouse feels insulated, not just by construction, but by this very snow. It acts as a quiet buffer, absorbing the wind's harsh gusts and holding the warmth in like an unseen partner. Sleepers feel this effect unconsciously. The floor stays slightly warmer, the walls less prone to drafts, and the air inside remains stable, comforting, and calm. The sound outside is almost imperceptible, a gentle drift, the occasional tap of falling ice, the whisper of wind brushing snow from branches. These distant murmurs are rhythmic and soothing, part of the lullaby that guides the Vikings deeper into sleep. Cocooned in furs, surrounded by warmth, and insulated by the snow and structure, they rest fully. Winter presses beyond the longhouse, yet inside, time slows, and the night stretches peacefully, carrying everyone gently toward dawn. Inside the longhouse, the air is dense, yet gentle, carrying the slow, steady weight of winter outside without intrusion. Cold may linger at the edges near doors or gaps in the walls, but the bulk of the space is calm, balanced by warmth from the hearth, the bodies, and the thick layers of fur and wool. This heavy air moves slowly, curling around sleepers like a soft, protective blanket. Breaths mingle with it, rising and falling in gentle waves. Every inhale draws in warmth, smoke, and the faint scent of earth, while every exhale releases tension, fatigue, and the lingering chill from outside. Even minor shifts of sleep are turning. A child curling closer, an animal stretching cause the air to move in imperceptible currents, carrying heat where it is most needed. The longhouse acts as a living vessel, regulating itself in harmony with the rhythms of the night. Wrapped in layers and embraced by this subtle, steady atmosphere, Vikings drift further into restorative sleep. The outside world presses against timber and turf, but inside, the air is gentle, still, and unwaveringly safe. The fire in the longhouse radiates warmth, not just into the air, but directly onto the skin of the sleepers. Its gentle glow brushes arms, cheeks, and exposed necks, a quiet caress that reinforces the feeling of safety. Each flicker and wave of light carries a subtle sensation of heat, uneven but soothing, like a heartbeat shared between fire and body. This pulse is calming, drawing the mind away from worry or alertness. It tells the body that someone or something maintains the balance, tending the hearth and ensuring warmth persists. Even as sleep deepens, this tactile connection to fire reinforces the longhouse as a sanctuary, a place where rest is not just possible but effortless. Every sleeper responds, unconsciously adjusting to maximize comfort. A hand moves slightly, a foot slides under a fur, a shoulder leans closer to a sibling. Each motion spreads warmth, shares it, and strengthens the collective cocoon. Here, in the quiet glow and gentle pulse of firelight, sleep becomes a slow, flowing experience. The night stretches around the longhouse, unwavering and calm, carrying everyone deeper into rest. The animals resting at the edges of the longhouse contribute a subtle but vital warmth to the night. Their slow, steady breaths create a gentle rhythm, a soft hum that blends seamlessly with the crackle of the hearth and the measured rise and fall of human chests. A sheep shifts slightly on its bed of straw, exhaling a warm, moist puff of air. A dog curls its nose beneath its paws, its quiet snuffle a reminder of life quietly persisting. Even the low creak of wooden stalls, as they settle under the weight of their occupants, becomes part of the ambient lullaby. This soft chorus of breaths is calming, a steady, almost imperceptible reminder that life continues, even in winter's grip. The warmth of animal bodies seeps outward, mingling with the heat from the fire and the layered furs. Every sleeper unconsciously absorbs this shared energy, finding additional comfort in the presence of these familiar companions. Wrapped in furs, bathed in firelight, and cradled by the rhythm of countless breaths, the Vikings drift deeper into restorative sleep. Outside, winter presses on, but inside, life's quiet hum carries them safely through the night. Even in deep sleep, bodies are never completely still. Fingers twitch beneath blankets, toes shift slightly, and shoulders roll with unconscious rhythm. These subtle movements are part of the body's natural response to cold and comfort alike, seeking positions that preserve warmth while maintaining relaxation. Each small adjustment is cushioned by layers of fur and wool. A sleeper's elbow presses softly into straw, a knee nudges against a sibling's side, and the gentle give of animal bedding absorbs every motion. The longhouse becomes a space that accommodates these shifts, responding like a living entity to ensure no one experiences sharp discomfort. The firelight flickers across these small, restless movements, casting shadows that rise and fall in tandem. The faint murmur of breaths continues, steady and rhythmic, weaving the actions of body, fire, and space into a quiet nocturnal dance. These movements, far from disruptive, help maintain warmth, circulation, and comfort. Wrapped in this soft, shifting cocoon, sleepers drift farther into a serene, unhurried night, carried gently by the longhouse's enduring embrace. The longhouse holds more than fire and walls, it holds the collective warmth of everyone within. Bodies pressed close together, wrapped in furs and wool, radiate heat that mingles in the quiet air. A child curled against a parent, siblings lying side by side. Even the animals at the edges of the room contribute to a shared reservoir of comfort. This warmth is subtle but constant. It rises slowly, filling the spaces between sleepers, wrapping them in a quiet, invisible blanket. Every small motion, an arm shifting, a foot tucked closer, helps distribute heat, ensuring that even the coldest edges of the longhouse remain safe and inviting. The fire's glow complements this body heat, stretching across timber and floorboards, reinforcing the sense of enclosure and security. Together, these elements create a sanctuary that the Vikings rely on instinctively. They understand that survival in winter is as much about shared presence as it is about wood, fur, or fire. In this cocoon of human and animal warmth, sleep deepens. The night moves slowly, almost sacredly, carrying everyone further into rest, while outside, winter presses against the longhouse's defenses with patient persistence. Even in sleep, the longhouse benefits from the quiet presence of its elders. They move gently, almost imperceptibly, tending the fire, checking on sleepers, or adjusting blankets. Their movements are slow and deliberate, guided by years of experience, ensuring that warmth remains steady and no one suffers in the cold. An elder's touch is soft but purposeful, a hand smoothing a blanket over a child, a foot nudging a log into the hearth, just enough to spark warmth without startling. These acts are done with care, creating a rhythm of protection that extends throughout the house. The younger sleepers rarely notice these quiet interventions consciously, but their bodies respond. The added heat, the adjusted furs, the soft assurance of presence all contribute to a deeper, uninterrupted sleep. Even the fire seems to respond, flames rising and falling in sync with these gentle movements. In the longhouse, wisdom manifests not in loud commands but in subtle, persistent guidance. It preserves warmth, comfort, and safety, allowing everyone from child to elder to drift further into restorative rest while the night slowly unfolds around them. Even within the sturdy walls of the longhouse, the air is never completely static. As the night deepens, temperatures shift subtly, following the rhythm of the earth and the fire. The warmest zones hug the hearth and sleeping bodies, while the cooler edges are softened by layered furs and the careful placement of sod walls. Sleepers respond unconsciously to these changes. Hands reach out to pull blankets tighter. A child nestles closer to a parent. A foot slides beneath a fur. Each small adjustment helps maintain equilibrium, ensuring that comfort and warmth are preserved without breaking the gentle flow of rest. The fire's glow also interacts with these shifts. Flames flare gently as logs settle, sending waves of heat into cooler pockets. Smoke rises in slow spirals, carrying warmth and light throughout the room. The longhouse seems to breathe with these subtle changes, absorbing and redistributing energy to maintain balance. Wrapped in furs, surrounded by warmth, and cradled by the steady vigilance of fire and earth, the Vikings drift deeper into restorative sleep. Night stretches unhurriedly, the slow passage of hours marked only by the soft dance of heat, air, and body. Above the longhouse, snow accumulates silently, pressing gently against the turf and timber roof. The weight is steady and deliberate, a quiet reminder of winter's presence, yet it is far from threatening. Instead, it adds insulation, sealing in warmth and softening the sounds of the outside world. Inside, sleepers rarely notice the subtle creaks or the soft thumps as the snow settles. These noises blend with the quiet murmur of breathing, the crackle of embers, and the gentle movements of animals, creating a complex but calming soundscape. The snow becomes a protective blanket from above, enhancing the feeling of enclosure and safety within the longhouse. The fire's warmth rises to meet the roof, creating a layer of heated air that counters the chill pressing from outside. This balance is delicate yet reliable, maintained by the architecture, the bodies within, and the fire's steady pulse. Cradled beneath timber, turf, and snow, the Vikings continue to sleep deeply. Every flake above reinforces the longhouse's quiet sanctuary, allowing the night to stretch in calm, uninterrupted rhythm. Even when flames die low, the hearth remains alive with glowing coals. Their red-orange warmth radiates softly, filling the longhouse with a steady, gentle heat that seeps into the floors, walls, and beds. These coals act as the heartbeat of the night, a constant presence that reassures sleepers even when firelight flickers faintly. The glow casts soft illumination on the beams and furs, revealing textures and shapes in a slow, mesmerizing rhythm. Shadows shift imperceptibly, creating a sense of quiet movement that is calming rather than startling. The warmth and light together form a cocoon, insulating the Vikings from the harshness of the frozen night outside. Even subtle actions, an elder adding a small twig, a hand adjusting a furry, ignite sparks that join the coal's glow, reinforcing the balance of heat throughout the house. Sleepers remain undisturbed, cradled by warmth, light, and the steady pulse of fire that never truly rests. Wrapped in furs and bathed in the quiet glow, the longhouse feels timeless. Each sleeper drifts further into the calm embrace of night, guided by the enduring rhythm of coals and embers. Within the longhouse, life hums gently, even in the depths of night. The breathing of sleepers, the soft shifting of animals, the crackle of embers, and the faint groan of timber under winter's weight blend into a continuous, soothing murmur. It is a sound of persistence, continuity, and protection. Each element supports the others. The fire's warmth eases the cold, pressing on walls. The bodies radiate heat that spreads evenly through the room. And even the smallest motion, a hand brushing a blanket, a child curling closer, adds to the quiet flow. The longhouse itself seems to resonate with this life, as if every beam and plank participates in the careful orchestration of comfort. This hum is invisible but palpable. It reassures the sleepers that the night is safe, the cold is held at bay, and each living presence contributes to the collective endurance of the household. Wrapped in furs, bathed in firelight, and enveloped by the hum of life, the Vikings drift deeper into restorative sleep, cocooned in warmth, safety, and the subtle pulse of home. Every movement in the night initiates a quiet conversation between body and bedding. Limbs press into furs, body heat warms wool, and layers shift slightly to redistribute warmth where it is needed most. This exchange is continuous, unconscious, and vital to comfort during the long, cold hours. Even minor adjustments, an arm slipping beneath a blanket, a child curling tighter against a parent, a foot sliding beneath layers of fur effect the distribution of heat. The furs respond, compressing, lifting, and trapping warmth with a slow, steady patience. The body, in turn, relaxes more fully, trusting the layers around it to provide both protection and comfort. The interplay of body and fur is almost tactile music, soft, quiet, and rhythmic. Each subtle motion enhances sleep rather than disrupting it. The warmth is not uniform, but it is perfectly sufficient, shared through careful layering, proximity, and instinctive adjustments. Encased in this living cocoon, Vikings rest deeply. The longhouse, the hearth, the furs, and the bodies themselves work in harmony, creating a night of unbroken, restorative calm. Above the sleepers, the roof of the longhouse stands firm, heavy with layers of timber, bark, and turf. Snow presses gently against its exterior, muffling the sounds of the night and adding insulation. Inside, the roof seems almost alive, whispering faint creaks and groans as it adjusts to the cold and the weight it bears. These subtle noises are never alarming. Instead, they form part of the Longhouses' nocturnal language, a gentle reminder that the structure is responding to the environment, bending and settling without breaking. Sleepers cocooned in furs and warmed by the hearth feel the reassurance of this presence deep in their bones. The roof works with the walls, the floor, and the fire, creating a complete system of protection. Heat rises from the hearth and is caught beneath the low ceiling, lingering over sleeping bodies. Drafts are blocked by sod walls and overlapping planks, and even the faintest chill is softened by the quiet insulation above. Wrapped in warmth, cradled by timber, and protected by the layers of earth and snow, the Vikings drift deeper into night. Each creak, each whisper of the roof is part of a slow lullaby, guiding mind and body into restful, enduring sleep. Even in the stillest moments of night, there is subtle movement within the longhouse. A child shifts beneath layers of wool and fur. A parent adjusts a blanket to cover his shoulder, and animals stretch slightly in their straw beds. These small motions produce soft rustles, a gentle soundscape that blends seamlessly with the crackle of the hearth and the whisper of wind outside. The noise is soothing rather than disturbing. It reminds sleepers that life continues around them and that the space is alive with warmth and care. Each rustle also redistributes heat, pressing furs closer to bodies or creating tiny pockets of air that trap warmth. The longhouse, in this way, seems to breathe with its occupants, responding to their needs without conscious effort. Even the layering of clothing contributes to this subtle exchange. Wool, linen, and fur shift together, creating quiet friction that is almost musical, a delicate rhythm that accompanies the rise and fall of breaths. These soft sounds provide reassurance, reinforcing the steady pulse of safety and warmth that fills the house. Cradled in the interplay of firelight, rustling furs, and layered warmth, the Vikings sink deeper into sleep. Each sound, movement, and breath harmonizes, carrying them through the night in a gentle, unbroken cocoon of comfort. Within the longhouse, Warmth is not only in fire or furs, it is carried in the air, exhaled by each sleeper. The gentle rise and fall of chests sends out soft currents, invisible yet perceptible, that mingle and circulate throughout the room. A child's breath warms the blanket covering their parent. A parent's exhale drifts toward a sibling nearby. This shared warmth is unconscious, instinctive, and steady. It reinforces the heat from the hearth, the insulation of the roof and walls, and the layers of clothing and fur. Even the animals contribute. Their steady respiration adds to the overall pulse, a soft, life-giving hum that eases tension and encourages relaxation. The Vikings feel this subtly, a quiet reassurance that they are not alone in the cold. Each breath intertwines with another, creating an invisible web of warmth and comfort that threads through the longhouse. The sensation is calming, almost meditative, helping minds to let go and bodies to surrender fully to rest. In this cocoon of shared breath, firelight, and layered warmth, sleep deepens. The longhouse becomes a sanctuary where winter presses outside, but life, heat, and quiet vigilance protect all who lie within. High above the sleepers, the beams of the longhouse catch the flickering light of the fire, casting slow-moving shadows that stretch and shrink in a hypnotic rhythm. These shadows move imperceptibly, tracing the contours of walls, furs, and bodies with a soft, liquid grace. The shifting patterns are calming rather than startling. They provide a sense of continuity and motion in the otherwise still night, a subtle reminder that the house is alive, responding to fire and movement alike. A flicker across a child's face or a parent's shoulder is soft and reassuring, like the slow, rhythmic pulse of the longhouse itself. Even the smallest movements, an arm brushing a blanket, an animal shifting slightly, catch in the shadows, joining the visual lullaby. Sleepers drift alongside this interplay of light and dark, their minds soothed by its slow, deliberate pace. Within this dance of shadows and firelight, the Vikings find a profound sense of security. The longhouse cradles them, each beam and flicker guiding body and mind toward deep, untroubled rest, while winter presses quietly against the insulated walls outside. Beneath and around the sleepers, the longhouse itself seems alive with subtle movement. Timber beams expand and contract gently as they respond to heat from the hearth and the chill from outside. The earthen floor, packed tight and mixed with straw or clay, gives slightly under each shifting body, releasing warmth it has held from the day's light and activity. These subtle pulses are almost imperceptible, yet they contribute to the sense of calm. The house seems to breathe alongside its inhabitants, a slow, patient rhythm that reassures the mind and body. Each tiny creak, the soft settling of walls, the faint thrum of warmth rising from the earth, is part of a continuous lullaby that carries the Vikings deeper into sleep. Animals, furs, and bedding respond to these shifts as well, absorbing energy and radiating comfort back into the space. Even the firelight dances in harmony with these pulses, reflecting off walls and beams in soft, ever-changing patterns. Encased in this living network of timber, earth, and warmth, the Vikings drift further into restorative rest. The longhouse, strong and patient, holds them through the long winter night, carrying each sleeper in a gentle, unbroken embrace. The longhouse is filled with a quiet symphony of sounds, each one familiar and comforting. The soft crackle of the hearth, the occasional sigh of a sleeper turning beneath furs, the low hum of animals breathing, and even the faint creak of timber as it responds to cold, all mingle into a harmonious lullaby. These sounds are never jarring. Instead, they reassure the mind that all is as it should be. Each noise is a signal of presence, warmth, and life. reminding the Vikings that the house is not empty and the night, though long, is safe. Even the wind brushing against the roof or walls outside is softened, muffled by turf, timber, and snow, adding a distant rhythm that blends seamlessly with the quieter interior sounds. Sleepers unconsciously synchronize with this ambient music. Breathing slows, muscles relax, and thoughts drift like leaves on a gentle stream. The longhouse itself seems to participate, amplifying comfort and security, turning minor sounds into a chorus of protection. Wrapped in furs, bathed in firelight, and cocooned by these familiar, soothing noises, the Vikings drift deeper into night. Every sound, subtle and deliberate, carries them toward a restful, uninterrupted sleep. At the center of the longhouse, the hearth radiates a steady, comforting heat that reaches every corner of the room. Even sleepers far from the fire feel its gentle pull, a warmth that rises and spreads, touching furs, clothing, and the earth beneath. This warmth moved slowly, almost imperceptibly, curling around bodies and filling spaces between sleepers. It softens the chill lingering near walls and doors, creating a quiet equilibrium that allows muscles to relax and hearts to settle. The hearth's glow also reaches the eyes, casting shadows that rise and fall like a gentle tide, further guiding the mind toward rest. Each movement within the house, an arm reaching under a blanket, a child curling closer, an animal shifting, interacts with this heat, distributing it more evenly. The Vikings' bodies respond instinctively, seeking the coziest pockets of warmth without conscious thought. In the steady tug of hearth and body heat, the longhouse becomes more than shelter. It becomes a living sanctuary, a place where the cold of winter is held at bay, and every breath, every heartbeat, every flicker of fire contributes to deep, restorative sleep. The walls of the longhouse are more than simple barriers. They are living, breathing guardians against winter's chill. Thick timber beams, joined carefully and layered with turf, absorb the cold from outside and radiate a gentle warmth back into the room. Every creak and shift in the wood is a reminder that the structure is responsive, resilient, and protective. Sleepers are cocooned within this natural fortress. The walls block harsh winds, muffle distant storms, and trap the heat generated by fire and body alike. Even small noises, the shuffle of furs, the soft snort of an animal, echoes subtly against the wood, reinforcing a sense of presence and security. The Vikings sense this protective embrace unconsciously. It allows minds to rest without alertness, bodies to settle into sleep without tension. Timber, turf, and straw combine to create a quiet sanctuary, where the passage of winter hours is softened and slowed, enclosed by these steadfast walls, warmed by hearth and body, and wrapped in layers of fur. The longhouse carries its occupants further into unbroken rest. Each heartbeat and breath resonates safely within this quiet fortress. As the night progresses, warmth from the hearth and sleeping bodies rises slowly, caressing every surface it touches. Floors, walls, and the low ceiling all absorb and reflect this heat, creating gentle pockets that cradle the Vikings in comfort. The sensation is subtle, felt more than noticed, but it permeates the body, encouraging muscles to relax and the mind to release tension. Even the smallest movements enhance this process. A child curling tighter to a parent shifting slightly to reach a blanket, or an animal stretching all contribute to the circulation of warmth. The longhouse responds naturally, holding heat where it is needed and allowing cooler edges to balance gradually. This rising warmth is accompanied by a quiet, rhythmic pulse, the crackle of embers, the slow exhalations of sleepers, and the hum of timber adjusting to temperature changes. Together, they form a lullaby that carries through the house, soothing the body and mind alike. Encased in layers of furs, embraced by firelight, and enveloped by this subtle, rising warmth, the Vikings sink deeper into sleep. The night stretches ahead, patient and calm, while the Longhouse stands as a vigilant, comforting guardian against winter's chill. Even in the quietest hours, small movements ripple through the Longhouse like a gentle rhythm. A child shifts beneath layered furs, a parent stretches slightly, an animal rolls in its straw bed. These motions are soft and deliberate, part of the natural flow of life during the long, cold night. Each movement serves a purpose. Limbs shift to retain warmth, bodies curl to conserve heat, and blankets or furs adjust naturally to accommodate changes. The Longhouse absorbs and responds to these subtle motions, with timber creaking faintly and straw bedding settling quietly beneath pressure. This rhythm is calming, almost hypnotic. It reinforces the sense that the house is alive and attuned to its occupants. Sleepers drift deeper in synchrony with these gentle pulses, bodies and minds guided by the continuous, soothing interplay of warmth, movement, and sound. Wrapped in furs, bathed in firelight, and cradled by the subtle rhythm of night, the Vikings experience the slow, restorative passage of hours. Outside, winter waits, but inside, time stretches softly, unhurried and serene. In the Longhouse, the Vikings sleep not only with warmth, but with the quiet assurance of collective safety. Bodies huddle close, furs overlap, and every breath adds to the invisible shield against winter's chill. The presence of others, even in stillness, is a constant comfort that reinforces trust and relaxation. Small, unconscious gestures, arm reaching toward a child, a foot nudging a sibling, an elder checking the fire maintain this protective network. These acts ripple gently through the Longhouse, ensuring that warmth and vigilance are shared evenly. Even the animals contribute, their soft breaths and presence adding to the sense of security. This shared safety calms the mind. Sleepers feel cocooned not only by furs and timber, but by the knowledge that they are part of a living system. Each heartbeat, each exhalation, each subtle shift reinforces the collective comfort, allowing rest to deepen naturally. Enveloped in layers of warmth, body heat, and companionship, the Vikings drift into restorative sleep. The Longhouse hums softly with life and care, a sanctuary that holds them through the long, frozen night. The firelight in the Longhouse continues its gentle dance, flickering across beams, furs, and sleeping bodies. Shadows stretch and fold slowly, creating a fluid tapestry of movement that is both mesmerizing and calming. Every subtle change, the sway of smoke, the lift of a blanket, the stretch of an arm, modifies the patterns in quiet, soothing ways. Warmth follows the light, rising in soft waves that brush over shoulders, backs, and legs. Each flicker creates micro-pockets of heat that cradle the body, enhancing comfort without overwhelming it. Even the slightest motion distributes this warmth further, ensuring that every corner of the Longhouse remains cozy and balanced. Sleepers respond unconsciously, bodies sinking deeper into the comforting rhythm. Limbs relax, muscles soften, and breathing slows, all in harmony with the slow ebb and flow of firelight and shadow. The interplay of light and warmth becomes a gentle lullaby, reinforcing the security and calm of the night. Cradled by shadows, heat, and firelight, the Vikings drift further into restorative rest. Outside, winter presses against the walls, but inside, movement, warmth, and light weave a cocoon of safety and serenity. The hearth remains the heart of the Longhouse, its embers glowing softly and radiating steady warmth. Smoke rises in slow, curling spirals, weaving through the beams and carrying with it the faint scent of pine, resin, and burned wood. This combination of warmth and aroma is subtle but profoundly comforting, a constant reassurance to all who sleep nearby. The smoke's movement is hypnotic, softening edges, creating fluid patterns against the roof and walls. Its presence reminds the Vikings that the fire is tended, that heat persists, and that the longhouse remains a reliable haven against the night's chill. Each breath, each inhale of the smoke-laced air reinforces this sense of safety, deepening relaxation and encouraging untroubled sleep. Even the faintest crackle of embers or the soft pop of resin sparks blends with the breathing of sleepers and the rustle of furs. Together, these elements form a lullaby that carries through the house, harmonizing warmth, sound, and scent into a slow, meditative rhythm. Cradled in firelight, embraced by smoke, and surrounded by layered warmth, the Vikings drift deeper into restorative sleep. The longhouse holds them in a quiet, unwavering sanctuary through the long, frozen night. As hours pass, the longhouse seems to settle further into the quiet of winter. Timber beams release their last tension from the day. Floors and walls adjust subtly to the heat trapped inside, and the layered furs shift only minimally under sleeping bodies. This slow, collective settling reinforces the sense of permanence and safety within the space. The fire continues to glow with a steady pulse, its warmth gently spreading across platforms, walls, and floors. Smoke drifts lazily toward the roof, carrying both scent and the reassurance that the hearth is alive and tended. Even animals, curled in their bedding, exhale softly in rhythm with human sleepers, adding a constant, calming hum. Every sleeper responds to this subtle equilibrium. Muscles relax fully, breathing deepens, and minds release tension, carried along by the steady, unhurried cadence of the longhouse. Time seems to slow, and the night stretches as a soft, protective embrace rather than a void of cold. In this settled, harmonious environment, the Vikings drift deeper into sleep. Outside, winter presses against the roof and walls, but inside, every element, the timber, the furs, the fire, and the presence of life works together to maintain calm, warmth, and unbroken rest. By now, every sleeper is enveloped in layers of protection, thick woolen garments, soft furs, and straw bedding. These layers are not simply for insulation, they provide a tactile reassurance that the cold cannot penetrate. Each layer absorbs, reflects, and shares heat, creating a subtle, continuous warmth that caresses the body. Movements in the night, however small, interact with these layers. A child curling closer to a parent presses into the furs, sending a ripple of heat through the bedding. A parent shifting slightly adjusts the insulation for themselves and those nearby. Even the fire contributes, its warmth gently rising and reinforcing the effect of the layered protection. The combined effect is a cocoon that is simultaneously physical and emotional. Sleepers feel secure, protected, and supported by the careful interplay of materials and presence. Each subtle interaction deepens rest, allowing the Vikings to sink further into calm, restorative sleep. Wrapped in this layered sanctuary, the longhouse carries its occupants through the coldest hours. Every breath, shift, and pulse of heat ensures that the night remains gentle, soothing, and uninterrupted. Beyond the thick walls and turf roof, the winter wind moves across the landscape, whispering through trees and over snowdrifts. Its sound is distant but present, a hushed reminder of the cold and darkness that exists beyond the longhouse. Inside, however, this murmur is softened, muffled by layers of timber, earth, and fur, transforming what could be a threat into a gentle, almost musical accompaniment to sleep. The Vikings are largely unaware of the wind's presence, yet their bodies sense the difference between the warmth inside and the chill pressing outside. The hearth and furs absorb these subtle pressures, maintaining equilibrium and comfort. Even small shifts, an arm tucked closer, a blanket adjusted, a child curling tighter, respond naturally to the faint whisper of cold, ensuring that warmth is preserved. This interplay between the longhouse and the outside creates a quiet rhythm, a pulse of protection and reassurance. The night moves slowly, accompanied by the distant song of wind, but inside, the house is calm, warm, and alive with gentle life, cradled by walls, timber, furs, and the steady pulse of fire. The Vikings drift deeper into rest. Each breath, heartbeat, and gentle movement carries them further into the sanctuary of night. As the night deepens, sleep itself becomes a tangible presence, settling over each occupant like a soft, invisible blanket. Bodies grow heavier in repose, muscles fully releasing tension, and minds letting go of thought and worry. Even the smallest movements slow, merging seamlessly with the quiet rhythm of the longhouse. The fire's warmth, the hum of animal breaths, and the pulse of shared heat from nearby sleepers all support this profound stillness. Every exhale, every subtle twitch beneath furs becomes part of a slow, collective cadence, a quiet symphony that carries each person deeper into rest. The Vikings feel the comforting weight of night pressing around them, a gentle assurance that time has slowed and danger is held at bay. The longhouse, timber, furs, and hearth combined with the body's own rhythms, creating a cocoon where sleep is absolute, uninterrupted, and restorative. Encased in this protective embrace, they sink further into the calm, the night wrapping around them like a soft, enduring lullaby. In the longhouse, sleep is not solitary, it is shared. Every breath, every movement, every flicker of warmth contributes to a subtle network of presence that binds all occupants together. A parent's steady breathing reassures a child. The warmth radiating from an animal spreads gently to nearby humans. Even the fire's rhythm synchronizes with these silent exchanges. This quiet bond is unspoken and unconscious, yet it is deeply felt. It reinforces safety, comfort, and a profound sense of belonging. The Vikings, wrapped in layers of fur and wool, sense it in the steady heat surrounding them, in the rhythmic murmur of the house, and in the gentle, almost imperceptible movements of others. Each person's presence strengthens the collective sanctuary. Even the smallest adjustments, an arm reaching closer, a blanket shifting, a foot pressing against straw, enhance the shared warmth and security. The longhouse hums softly with life, a living organism holding all who rest within it. Within this quiet web of presence, sleep deepens and stretches into restorative calm. The night outside may be harsh, but inside, every heartbeat and breath reinforces a sense of unbroken safety and warmth. As the night progresses, time seems to stretch and soften. The longhouse remains a sanctuary of warmth. Its timber walls, turf roof, furs, and hearth working in harmony to sustain the sleepers through the cold hours. Even the soft, distant sounds of winter outside, the drift of snow, the whisper of wind blend into the gentle rhythm of the interior. The fire burns low, embers glowing with a steady, reassuring pulse. Animals remain curled in their bedding, exhaling quietly in sync with the human occupants. Bodies shift minimally beneath layers of furs, breathing deep, steady, and unhurried. The house seems to breathe with them, a slow, protective rhythm that carries all into the last hours before daybreak. Sleep deepens further, carrying dreams gently across the hours. The warmth, the sounds, the presence of others, and the steady heartbeat of the hearth weave together into a calm, restorative tapestry. The Vikings are fully cradled by their home, cocooned in security, warmth, and the quiet endurance of life in the longhouse. The night is nearly complete, and the first hints of dawn will soon approach. Though the house continues its patient vigil, holding all in the final embrace of winter's darkness. Slowly, imperceptibly at first, the world outside the longhouse begins to shift. Dawn approaches, painting the snow and timber with the faintest hints of pale light. Inside, the longhouse remains warm, its occupants cocooned in furs, layered clothing, and the lingering heat of the hearth. The fire's embers glow softly, sending gentle warmth across the room. Animals stir slightly, stretching and shifting in their bedding, their movements mirrored by sleepers who turn gently or sigh in dreams. The timber beams seem to absorb the first hints of morning, reflecting a calm, diffused light that blends with the soft glow of remaining embers. There is no rush, no abruptness, just a slow, serene transition. The warmth, the shared breath, the comfort of furs, and the quiet presence of one another make waking a gentle continuation of the night, not a jarring change. The Vikings emerge gradually from sleep, rested, nurtured, and safe, carried through the long hours of winter by the quiet wisdom of their home. The longhouse, steadfast through darkness, continues its role as guardian and comforter, a sanctuary where warmth, presence, and care have guided every heartbeat and breath through the frozen night. Thank you for joining this journey into the quiet, warm world of a Viking longhouse. As you prepare to rest yourself, let the calm rhythms of hearth, timber, and layered warmth linger in your mind. Allow yourself to carry the gentle pulse of firelight, the shared presence, and the soft hum of life into your own dreams tonight. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Tell us where you're watching from, whether it's the US, Europe, Canada, or elsewhere, and what time it is for you as you listen. Your support helps us continue to create immersive, soothing stories like this one. Sleep well, wrapped in warmth and calm, and let the quiet wisdom of the night guide you into restorative rest.